Hello, I'm Kevin Fleece, broadcasting to you from the GBTA Conference here in Hamburg. And joining me today is Joe Healy, Chief Commercial Officer of Taxback International. Joe, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you, Kevin. Delighted to be here.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about T&E and VAT reclaim. What are the new trends we should be aware of in that space?
So, Kevin, there's a lot of new trends I'm happy to report. We've been in this game for quite some time. Over 20 years, we've seen a lot of revolutionary moves in that time, from banker boxes of invoices being collected by Iron Mountain and shipped to our facility for manual processing, and right through to where we are today around AI, ML technology for audit of these expenses, which are getting to us via API from expense management systems. Some of our partners are here this week. You know, we have integrations with all the big players in that space, and essentially it's allowing us to manage travel and expense VAT reclaim in real time. Now, and that's exciting, because in the past you'd have to wait, anything up to 6 months to get that return on your investment. Wow. And get the VAT back. Now we can get it back in, once an expense report is approved to pay, the VAT can actually be reported within days, which is really impressive. Keeps all the accountants happy and keeps the travel managers happy as well, because with value-added tax, or MOMS, or GST, HST, whatever you want to call it, you were looking at it about, on average, 20% of your hotel bill is made up of this tax. And that's straight off the top discount if you have a good VAT reclaim mechanism in place. So that's the big trend, being able to accurately identify where the opportunity sits, audit it using AI ML in real time, and then, of course, get that pushed back into the accountants as recovered funds for the business.
Excellent. And you mentioned to me before we started, and maybe our travel buyers or the audience isn't aware just how big the differences are across the continent when you go country by country. Can you explain some of those challenges and how you guys address them?
Great question, yeah. And that all goes back to the European Commission and the way different countries interpret the legislation. So at an EU level in Brussels, they pass the laws, but it's still, every member state has the opportunity to determine how they interpret those laws. So, for example, here in Germany, you can only recover the VAT on the accommodation portion of an invoice. Breakfast, drinks at the bar, none of that is recoverable, so that must be filtered out by our AI ML. Again, that's the beauty of having the technology working for you. Then if you go to Denmark, it's similar. In Denmark, again, it's just the accommodation portion. If you go to France, for example, if you're my business partner and I'm paying for your hotel, I can recover the VAT on your accommodation, but I can't recover the VAT on my own. So, there's all those idiosyncrasies right throughout Europe. But there's another game changer that we're working on at the moment with partners in the travel management space. And this is around virtual cards and payment platforms, and being able to, book your trip, have your trip paid for, go and have your meeting and then go home without ever worrying about paying for the hotel invoice, retrieving the hotel invoice. That'll all happen in the background. And then we're getting a line item of level 3 data into our environment. And in real time, we're reporting yes, no for VAT and VAT compliance. And the recovery now is happening essentially before the business traveler has even arrived back from their trip.
It's a huge benefit for the travel manager and the business traveler themselves.
Absolutely, because essentially what we're saying here, for the first time ever in this space, 100% of the eligible VAT on your lodging will be recoverable. And we've never been able to say that in the past because of non-compliance travelers getting to the reception desk. We would receive invoices in their name and home address, which makes it non-compliant for recovery, so it's blocked. Whereas now we're getting them in the company name, company address, right details on the invoice, getting it right first time, and now 100% of that VAT is recoverable, and that's huge.
Amazing. And so you're already using AI and ML, but what do you see as the future for T&E and VAT reclaim?
So that's exactly the future for me. It will get to a point where e-invoicing is becoming a huge driver for the European Commission. And we've seen it work really effectively in places like Mexico. Latin America have really adopted it, and it's all driven around what's called the VAT gap. So just to explain the VAT gap, in the EU alone, we have a 99 billion euro VAT gap. And with these e-invoicing directives, you're getting to real-time reporting. So digital real-time reporting, where it won't be an actual image of an invoice, it'll be a string of data that we're working with. And that essentially allows the European Commission to say, okay, we feel that 99 billion in VAT hasn't been paid to us. So now if the supplier is raising the invoice electronically, and if the receiver is receiving it electronically and they're sharing it with the government portal as a pass-through, we can now track everything and we can now ensure that we're getting our piece of the pie. But what it means for our industry is we're also getting that line item of data, and we can do real-time recovery as well and make it even more efficient.
So you're really closing the loop between all the constituents.
Absolutely right.
So maybe last question then is maybe some practical takeaway. How can corporations ensure that they do not have any VAT reclaim opportunities blocked? How can they maximize that?
Absolutely, great question again. And I would always say sit down with an industry professional such as myself, anybody in the expense management space, anybody in the travel management space, and really get to understand what platforms are out there. If you're still operating your business and it's Excel, spreadsheets, emails, scanned images, you're missing a trick. And what people don't realize is you can revamp your travel management program, your expense management system, and you can get VAT to pay for the whole lot. So essentially, it's all of this technology that makes you more efficient as a business, cuts your costs, is free because VAT improvements and reclaim pay for all of those platforms.
We'll leave it there. Self-funding or technology upgrades through VAT recovery.
Net no cost.
Nice. Okay. So with that, Joe, thank you so much for joining us in the broadcast studio. I'm Kevin Fleece from Hamburg. Until next time, thank you for tuning in.